Paul and Karthik did a great job in telling the technical story of moving the transformation from mainframe to open frame cloud. But what does this do? And as you mentioned, Chris, data is the lifeblood of an organization. And when you do this transformation, you unleash that data. What does that do? That supercharges your business goals and also future-proofs your organization when you think about moving from that legacy piece to a future piece. Just looking at those two words, legacy and future, the future-proofing is incredibly important. So let's talk about the lifeblood, the data. What does it do? And you mentioned the 360-degree view of your customer. Well, that's super important. Data, the integration and unification of the data, single source of truth comes from data, real-time information comes from data, attribution comes from data, and then ultimately you have an anytime, anywhere omni-channel approach, which ultimately gives you that 360-degree view of your customer. So what do we mean by omni-channel? We could look at that on the next slide. So this is an example of multi-channel, which I think of multi-channel is sort of like horse blinders, right? So you know that your customers are interacting in your brick and mortar. You know that your customers are on the web or on mobile or on social. But what you don't know is how they all interact together. So with a multi-channel, you could see one channel at a time, but you can't really put the whole picture together. Now, if we look at the right side of the screen, now you've got the customer, your stakeholder, right in the center of a whole universe of everything that they do. That's omni-channel, and that happens with the ability to unleash that data, that lifeblood. So let's look at the next slide. So this slide, if you look at everything along the bottom of that slide, CRM all the way through to any other data sources, in a mainframe, you sort of had that situation where each piece sort of sits by itself, and you can have the one view of what each one talks about, like we saw on the other slide, that multi-channel. Now, with this open frame cloud environment that we've been talking about today, you have all of those pieces from your CRM to your website behaviors, your event registration, your point of sales, your customer service, et cetera, all of that becomes unified. And where does all of that come from? So all of this data can come from the web, from wearables, from digital advertising, from email, from chat, from call centers, from brick and mortar retail associates, all of that unified data, and the arrows are pointing one way, and this slide really should have those arrows pointing back and forth, because that creates that omni-channel environment, that ability to see a full picture of where that data is coming from. What does that do? That allows you to increase your awareness capacities, build interest, build engagement, build purchase strategies, build loyalty strategies, build growth strategies. In other words, all of your business goals are now supercharged with this idea of mainframe transformation to open frame cloud. So let's look at the next slide. So a single source of truth in data. Well, data can be really, really messy, especially if it's in separate pockets, right? Like we talked about. But if it all comes together, it comes together with a data strategy that allows you to build data integrity. And that's one of the things that my colleagues talked about today. When you move to an open frame cloud environment, you have the ability to have that universal data integrity strategy. It limits confusion. It centralizes your data. Therefore, you're able to look at your entire universe of data, your whole data lake, and be able to say, this is my single source of truth. Not only that, but with this fully integrated data, fully clean data, I could connect to multiple systems through webhooks and APIs, again, what my colleagues talked about. That allows you to build and expand, and that's that future-proofing element we talked about before. Single source of truth. If your data is truth and you know it's truth, the whole concept of dirty data, dirty in, dirty out, eliminate all that. Single source of truth, very much more possible with this transformation that we've been talking about today. Next slide. Real-time information. Now imagine, wherever your customer is, you are able to see what they're doing, and you'll be able to communicate with them based on real-time actions. So imagine that they're on a particular web page which has a particular product. You can communicate with them, and you can say, okay, this person has been on this web page. He's also been in my store about this. He's also responded to an email about this, and I can see all of that in real time. One key thing increases insights to action. Now think about that. If you increase your insights, then you can multiply exponentially your ability to take action. What does that give you? A competitive edge. And it means that you can meet your business goals and your consumer goals, your stakeholder goals, faster and more efficiently. That's real-time information. That happens with this transformation that we're talking about today. Next slide. And I want everybody to think about, by the way, so we're probably talking to a lot of IT people today, but then if you think about that, what this does to unleash with your marketing teams, your communications teams, your business strategic teams, this will be huge for them. So attributable data, what does attributable data allow you to do? If you are able to say that this data, you can attribute the data to certain activities, actions, behaviors, then you know that you're achieving the best ROI. And if you're not achieving the best ROI, you could quickly use your data to change and expedite your ROIs. Your data easily reveals your expenditures, and expenditures can mean dollar expenditures, mission goal expenditures, whatever that is. The ability for your data to help you tell that story and unveil and reveal that story better aligns your data to all of your initiatives. Attributable data comes from technical transformation, moving away from the mainframe to an open frame cloud. Next slide. So what does this ultimately mean? Well, for your entire business, if you can see your customers wherever they are, in whatever they're doing, you can talk to them and they can talk to you anywhere, anytime on their preferred device, whether it's a wearable, a smartphone, a web browser, or whatever comes in the future. You can engage your customer in their mode where they want to talk to you and engage with you. You can talk to them. That's an holistic, omni-channel customer experience. So imagine what your brand loyalty, the ability to build your brand loyalty, the ability to build brand engagement, the ability to get a customer to say, I love you guys, that comes from a holistic omni-channel customer experience. That's the right information at the right time, on the right platform, 360-degree view of your customer, your stakeholders. That's unleashing your data, supercharging your business goals, and future-proofing your technology and business strategies, all with that lifeblood, Chris, you were talking about, the lifeblood of data.